it into a better solution. And then later on, once you are through the first technical round, then you have the second technical round, where you'll be given much more complex problem statements, and you'll have to come up with solutions and different approaches, designing a proper solution. I- That's about it. Yeah. So first round will be more theoretical and with a little with one problem statement or so, and the second round will be all about different problem statements, like applying that theoretical knowledge to practice.
Okay, so these questions are usually data structure based, or what? As in, what are they asking when you're talking about scenarios? What exactly are they asking in these questions? Or if you
So
could give us an example, that would be also all right.
yeah, so um, I vaguely remember about my interview experience. So I was given a question with strings first. So they gave me an array of strings. They gave me a string basically, and I was asked to find the substrings which are palindromes. So it was a simple problem where I was supposed to take the string and find all the possible palindromes. And then later on, I was given an array of numbers, and I was asked uh, get the pair of numbers which give a sum of a particular number. Like if you're in like a dynamic if you input a dynamic integer, then I'm supposed to get a pair of numbers which will give the sum to that integer. So yeah, I vaguely remember these questions. So it's all like you have to put your theoretical knowledge into practice. It can be anything. It can be data structures. It can be collections. It can be anything basically.
Okay.
Coming to the next question, what are the topics and subjects that we should be focusing on for the technical round, and what was your preparation strategy?
Okay, so I mainly focused on operating systems, databases, and Java since I had a grip on Java. You can choose any programming language of your preference, but make sure that you know that language at least, like 70% of the concepts there. And then later on, you can go and explore these platforms like there's HackerRank, there is Lead Code, so you can solve the problems there, and that will give you an hold on data structures and algorithms. That's the best way to prepare. And since we had web programming, and I was keenly interested in front end, so I focused on concepts from HTML and CSS. So like spread into 1 week. Like if I have my interview from a week with now, I would start with operating systems since it's a very dry topic, and I would go on preparing with different algorithms, memory management algorithms, and then there is scheduling algorithms because they are asked in the interview. And then later on come to DBMS, and there are a lot of concepts in DBMS such as DDL, DML, and CRUD operations and indexing, normalization. So just go through I used to go through those topics, and then later on I started my preparation with Java from the third day. And just for my initial preparation, I went through all the theoretical concepts, and I made sure that I know Java pretty well. And then yeah, later on the best thing to do is if you fortunately know which platform you're using, like which platform you're going to give your test on. Like there's HackerRank, there's HackerEarth, and there's Lead Code, and there are a lot of platforms which companies use. So you can just go and give mock test on those platforms.
So would around 2 months, like 1.5 months, be enough for the entire preparation, like revision before the placements?
Yes, it will be enough, and it also depends on how much grip you have on your not like from your semester. So if you are very if you know your subjects inside out, then for revising them, I guess about 1 month will be enough. But if you are an amateur coder and you're starting from scratch, then I guess you'll have to give a little more time to it, like about 2 to 3 months, something like that.
Okay. So you've mentioned the websites that I'm sure everybody is aware of. What other resources do you suggest that we should use? Are there any books? I don't know if books would be useful above websites, but are there any other resources that you'd suggest us to use?
Yes. For my preparation, you might have heard of this book, Cracking the Coding Interview. So
Yes. Yeah.
yeah, I didn't solve it thoroughly, but there are quite few good questions there. So I preferred solving them. And another book was Introduction to Algorithms. So CLRS, as we call it. So yeah, that book is basically helpful to clear your basic data structure and algorithm concepts. So you can refer to that book. And I guess the best thing to do as part of your preparation is for whichever company you are applying for, or whichever company you're preparing for, right? You can go and check the interview experience on Geeks for Geeks. There you'll find there you'll find a lot of people putting up their interview experience in form of blogs. So you can read those, and you can on Geeks for Geeks, there's also a collection of interview questions that were asked with solutions. So you can uh, make sure that your process is your preparation is thorough by referring to those articles as well.
Okay.
And before going on to the next question, I'd just like to tell all the participants that in case you guys have any questions while this session is going on, you can leave it on the chat and we'll make sure to get it answered by the end of the session. Now, coming to the next question, how did you personally build your resume for the role that you had applied for?
uh, Everybody has this concept in mind where they think that only one interview will suffice for all the job roles you're applying for, but I suggest no. Like I had this thing where for every job role, for every company that came, or any job role that I was applying for, I used to go through the job description thoroughly, and in every job description there are certain keywords which you're supposed to pick. So I used to make sure that those keywords are present in my resume so that the shortlisting will be easy. And moreover, since it's in the job description, that's what is required. For example, there's a job description which is for a Java developer, and they require experience in Java, experience in Spring Boot. So make sure that you have Java and Spring Boot in your resume. So that's about it. And there was this one coding website. Sorry, one resume building website. I Just give me 1 minute. I'll let you know the name. And that was pretty helpful in building my resume. Just a second. It was bestfolios.com. So there you have n number of resumes with a different every company prefers a different sort of resume. Some prefer a graphic resume. Some prefer one page. So yeah, this company lists how you should prepare your resume according to the company.
Also, is it possible for you to leave that link in the chat so that it'll be useful for the participants to use it later on?
Sure.
Thank you.
Okay, so what projects did you work on, and which type of project is given relevance by the companies? This project-based question is something that a lot of people are curious about projects and a few other things that we'll discuss in the future, coming time. But what project did you work on both in college and after graduating? So what were the projects that you were working with?
So I started working on projects from my third year, and I remember I had one simple Java project which was about a dictionary where we filtered like words based on the dictionary. So that was as part of my mini project, and then later on I worked on a lot of R&D projects. So there was most of my R&D projects were hardware plus software, where we built a hexapod, we built a metal detector robot, and also we built some cleaning a vacuum cleaner which was fully automated. So it all depends on your area of interest. Initially, I feel like if you are going on campus drives, the number of projects and the quality matters, the domain doesn't matter, since every company that comes to our college is looking for a generic software engineer role rather than some specific role. But if you're interested in something like front end developer or full stack development, then I advise you to build websites as part of your uh, like not as part of your curriculum, and just put the portfolio. You can build a portfolio website and put it in your resume. And also one more thing here is, make sure that whatever project you do, or whatever, even if it's a very minute thing that you're doing, make sure that your code is uploaded on GitHub, and your GitHub account is up to date, since a lot of companies go and check your GitHub account just to make sure, just to understand your level of like coding, just to understand where you stand.
I'm sure that is a very important thing, putting up our code on GitHub. That is a practice that all of us should be doing. Like I said,
Yeah,
the
just a small addition there. Even
yes,
if you're solving something on HackerRank, like HackerRank and LeetCode has tons of problems, right? Even if you're solving something on HackerRank, just make sure that you have a repository there which is named HackerRank, or whatever collection that you're solving, and make sure that you upload your answer there with the question in a text file, so that that will be helpful. That will just build up your GitHub profile. So that I feel like a lot of companies give preference to that as well.
surely I'll add this on. So when I was talking about how people are confused of this project question, I also meant that there is this doubt of what has more importance, DSA topics, as in should we focus on data structures and algorithms, or should we focus on building projects?
Having project on your portfolio is just an add-on, but just imagine of a scenario where you have 10 projects on your portfolio, but you're not able to answer in the interview. So that will still get you rejected, right? So it's best to first focus and get your data structures and algorithm topics on point, and then you can devote your time to making projects. So even if you have two projects on your resume, it's still good. Till you should have good knowledge on the DSA topics. Once you have that, I guess number of projects won't really matter. The only thing that will matter is how you are answering in the interview.
Okay, I think that should answer the question that a lot of people had sent in, uh, and for various sessions as well. So moving on to the next question. Now that we're done with most of the technical part of the interview, what should we keep in mind? What else should we keep in mind, as in how to make ourselves more presentable, I suppose? Apart just from the technical point of view in our resume, what else should there be, and how should we introduce ourselves that the company should be impressed with us?
Uh, just make sure that your dressing is on point. You all are dressed formally, and make sure that you have good food before you go there, since the interview, no matter if it's even if it's for 15 minutes, will be very exhausting. And then later on, coming to the introduction part, all you have to do is you don't you have to give the interviewer the information which is not there in your resume, right? So apart from giving your name and everything, just don't go and blabber don't go and blabber your personal details, like, I say I hail from that town, or I stay there, I have these many siblings. That are a big no-no. All you have to do is give your brief introduction, like, if let's just put myself in your place and just go like, I just used to go like, I'm from fourth year, my CGPA is this, I am from CSC, and later on I would just start explaining my projects briefly, like, whatever projects I mentioned on my portfolio, I would just pick two and just explain them briefly. So that that's the best way to introduce yourself in any technical round or even in the HR round, rather than going into your personal details.
Mm. And also, what about the extra activities that a student should do? Like you've done work in all of these student bodies. You were a part of the general body for CSI, and you've been there. So, what do you think um, the importance of such activities has?
uh, I feel like I don't think that they're going to pay any heed to your position in a student body or anywhere when it comes to an organization, because all they care about is how well you can code. Other than that, yeah, they'll see, it'll always be an add-on to lead a student chapter or something like that, but not on not on, one second. Yeah, so yeah, it will always be an add-on, but you have to give more preference to your DSA topics, and once you have them clarified, and once you're very thorough with that, and you are able to solve at least all the easy and medium problems, then I feel like you can go and take part in all the extracurricular activities.
So I think this is like a later part of the process where it improves
But
your
yeah,
how you stand out from the crowd rather than it
yeah,
being an introductory thing.
yeah, but on the second part, like, it's really helpful when you are planning for your MS, since you can always build a good SOP based on these points.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, so now this is a different perspective, but did they ask you to ask them any questions in the interview? At the end of the interview, they usually ask, what do you expect from the company, or any sort of other questions?
Yes. So always at the end of my every interview that I've given, they always ask me if I have any question for the interviewer, or in regard to the company. And it's always best to ask one or two questions to the interviewer, since it will show your interest in working for the company or working for the team. Either you can ask something like, what will be my role, or you can ask the interviewer's experience, like, what was your experience when you joined the company, and how this company, XYZ company, helped the interviewer to grow, and what is life as a fresher in the company, and what is expected out of you. So it's always good to at least one question at the end of the interview, since it shows your interest in working for the company.
Yeah, I think it also shows that maybe the person is a little more comfortable and confident with the working aspect of giving the interview rather than it just being one of the things that a student does. So I think that would be a good thing if students. I think it should also differ from company to company, like you said before, what the requirement of the company is. So I think students can also phrase the question accordingly of their interest to the company. And I think that is a very good idea about asking the interviewer directly if about the company. So I think that would be a good idea. Okay,
Yeah,
so
and just make sure that whatever company you're applying for, even if it's on campus, make sure to get the job description from the placement cell, so that you are well prepared with the expectations of the company. That will just increase your chances of making an impression as well as getting selected.
Hmm. Okay. So the next question is, as a fresher, what was the work that you did at your job, and what was the challenge that you faced in this transition?
That's a very interesting question. So, when I initially joined ServiceNow, I faced a lot of difficulties. My initial weeks in ServiceNow were all about these n number of trainings that I was supposed to go through for the compliance and security purposes. And then later on, I started working. So no matter what company you join, first they'll give you a month's time at least to go through the product that you're going to work on, or the service that you're going to work on. So the best thing about learning any product or any service is to just ask as many questions as you can, no matter how silly they are. So once you're thorough with that, and once your product manager or your manager has some confidence in you, they'll start giving you small defects that are supposed to that you're supposed to fix. Defects are nothing but bugs in the product. So once you give them once you submit the code reviews for them, and later on hierarchy just grows. Like first you solve defects, and then later on you start by helping XYZ team member to build a service. Like you are collaborating with somebody to build a service, and then later on you are the owner of the service. So that's how it increases, but initially it starts from defects. And one challenge that I faced was that I felt I didn't have the right coding standards to work. Like as a student, I used to make many uh, silly mistakes, declare a number of variables, not writing optimal code. So yeah, one other thing that we can focus on after getting a job is maybe work on our coding standards, and work on how to optimize a code.
I think the coding that we do as a student is very much different from what a working individual should be doing, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah, it's a lot different, where you are answerable for every variable you declare there. So we have to come up with the most optimal best solution there. So and that's not taught anywhere in our 4 years, I guess. So that is one thing which we'll have to work on explicitly. And any company you join will obviously give you coding standards, trainings, like every company has their way of documenting the code. So they will for sure provide you with trainings, but I feel like it's not enough. Like that is something which comes with practice.
Okay. And also, can you tell us a little bit about the work culture? How exactly are people in the company? How they about your meetings? How they're held, and any other things that are conducted?
I hardly attended office. Like I was just there for a month, and then the virtual
Oh yeah.
workplace started, work from home. Yeah, so while we were at the office for a month, what used to happen was, since half of my team is US based and half is IDC based, uh, even then we had online meetings. So we never had in person meetings, at least in service now. Like there were a lot of other teams which had in person meetings, for whom the whole team was based out of IDC. So yeah, right now I can just say that we use Zoom for our meetings. And it's like we try to balance the time between India and CST. So it's something like that. I am not the right person to comment anything about the work culture, since I hardly attended office.
I will how will it be going back once all of this is done with? Is there any news to you about that? As in, like,
Yeah, the last I
for your
heard
job.
was,
For your job. That's what I was
yeah,
asking.
the last I heard was, the last I heard was we'll be going back in June, but that is still like under consideration since only 50% of the people will be allowed to go to office. So I don't think so. Developers or testers will be allowed to go to office since most of our work can be done remotely.
They should be taking a lot of things into consideration. So I think it does make sense. But are there any things that you felt that you've changed your outlook on, or any growth that you've gone through once you've started working, even though it's been virtual for you? But do you think you've noticed any changes or any growth in this experience that you've had?
Yeah, I've learned a lot from my job. Like, uh, I have learned how to present my solution to anybody. Like, talking, like, uh, suppose I'm building a service, I'm supposed to present the whole design, the whole thing to managers, and then there is an architecture review meeting, and then uh, I have to go through a series of approvals there. So yeah, the one thing that I learned was how to make sure that somebody on the opposite end understands what I am trying to explain, even though if it's virtual. Other
Mm-hmm.
than that, my coding practices have obviously improved. Like, I was a very bad coder, I still am, I might be, but I'm one thing for sure is that I have improved in like whatever trajectory I was planning to improve on. Other than that, there are a lot of things which you will learn once you join your first job or internship or anything. Like, every company has its own sets of experiences, and ServiceNow so far has been amazing to me.
Mm. That's actually great, and I'm sure there must be so much more in store for you. Whatever way this turns out, I'm sure there is a lot down the road. Okay, so this is a slightly different question, but since you've expressed your interest in masters, what is your opinion on it, and what is your experience in the preparation process, or what do you think about the master's path?
So, you all might be aware of the exam that we are supposed to take before going for masters, right? It's nothing but an English proficiency test and GRE. So,
Yes.
for anybody who is planning to go for masters, I feel like uh, take your exams as soon as you can, because both of them have a score validity of about 5 years for GRE and 2 years for TOEFL or IELTS, whatever you're choosing. So right now, since I was planning to explore my options for masters, I find it very difficult to manage my job as well as preparing for GRE and IELTS. So that is one difficulty I'm facing right now. So my one advice would be to give your GRE and IELTS as soon as you can. Maybe GRE in your 3-2 and IELTS. IELTS can be you can give IELTS anytime. It's nothing but an English proficiency test. But make sure that you give your GRE in your 3-2, and the score is also valid for 5 years, so it wouldn't be a problem then.
So, what is your outlook? Do you think you will be going for that, considering that you do have work experience now and a good job, I must say? So, what makes you think of that option?
There are a lot of things like I always wanted to explore my options like in research industry. So I was planning for a thesis based masters where India doesn't have a lot of facilities for research, right? And US or Canada, for that matter, are very well equipped with all the possibilities in like they offer you a wide domain to choose from. So that was one of the reasons I was planning for masters. Plus, it's not like like I'm going for sure. It all depends on the opportunity cost at the end. Like if I get a good university and if I get a course of my liking, then I might leave my job and go. But if not, and if I get a better job in India itself, I might shift my job. Or if ServiceNow is offering me something better, I might stay. So there's a lot of chaos. So I I'm not sure of what I might do in future. But yeah, I'll definitely like to explore masters, the option for masters.
I mean, life is dynamic, so it's good that you at least have these interests. A lot of times people don't really have an idea of what they want to do. So I think it's great that there's so many options that you wish to choose from. So I'm sure that whatever the best option is, it will pan out well. Okay, so I think we're almost done with the questions that we planned. I think one thing we should end this discussion with before moving on to the questions from the audience is that any advice from your personal experience going through college and your job, is there any advice that you would give to students that you wish you had?
Uh, Start preparing. uh, like I felt like nobody was there to, guide me. And given a chance, I would have started coding right in my second year. I was very late, where I started in my 3-2. So it's best to better start like right now, no matter if you're in first year or second year. It always adds on to your experience. And other than that, don't stress about it. Like there are a lot of opportunities in the market, and you will land somewhere or the other for sure, depending on what's best for you. So even if you don't get selected or anything, just don't get disheartened, because that was not the only job. And don't get nervous while giving your technical interviews, because it will be a lot more intimidating when you're facing the interviewer or a panel one-on-one. But just give your best and then leave the rest of the page. That's it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so that is very useful advice because all of us need to learn how to cope up with failure. And it's not that every person gets success continuously. There are a lot of times that people fall just to get that one high. So I think that is great advice to not crib in front of failure. Okay, so moving on to the questions that we've had from the audience, there is this question that I think even I should have phrased before, but the interview process of ServiceNow or the name itself is pretty big, even for us third year students now. So it's a pretty big deal, and it is often mentioned that it's not easy to crack or it's a very difficult process to get through. So, what do you think was the quality that you had that got you selected? I mean, obviously, after the technical rounds or including the technical rounds, actually.
uh, I would say, actually, I didn't have an HR round. All three of my rounds were technical round itself. And um, the only thing that got me selected was one among the things that got me selected was maybe my confidence, because I remember I was extremely confident throughout my ServiceNow interview process. As I already had an internship in hand, and I was doing my internship somewhere else. So I don't know what led to that, but that yeah, I was extremely confident for my interview throughout. And I was pretty much good in answering all the questions, since I gave a lot of interviews before. Mock interviews, as well as you can ask anybody, your friends who are preparing with you, to take a mock interview. But yeah, just keep practicing giving interviews, and that will take you a long way.
So the questions that they ask in these interviews, not the coding based rounds, but like the technical interviews, like you're saying, they covered all of these different subjects. So I don't think they go a lot in depth, but they try to cover as much knowledge as possible, right? Or do they
All
like jump
like
in?
no. So what will happen is they'll give you a problem statement and they'll ask you for a solution. They'll give you about 10 minutes or 15 minutes as per your convenience, and then you're supposed to come up with a solution for that. It might not be the best case solution or the most optimal solution, but you're supposed to come up with a solution. And once you're done, you start discussing that solution with the interviewer, and then you you're like they'll point out on certain places and they'll be like, why are you doing this, but why not that? So it will all be linked. They'll also come like given in my solution, like they'll also point out the places where I'm handling the memory very badly, or the places where I could improve the memory management. So that will cover OS. And then like if I have written my solution in JavaScript, or if they want me to fetch a query from the database, like they want me to fetch something from the database, querying it. So then there comes DBMS. So everything will get linked there, but all of these topics will be covered. So that will be something like that.
Okay.
I hope I was
So the
clear. Was I?
uh yeah, yeah, it did make sense. It did make sense. So it's just more application based along with the theory that we know. That's what I've
Yeah,
gotten. Okay.
yeah.
And there are actually a few questions in the chat. I'll just read them out so that you can answer them. The first one is if you were to choose between working right after college or going for further studies, what would your preference be now that you've seen the perspective of working?
I would have still opted to get a minimum 1 year of work experience before I go for masters, since it will like having work experience will help me a lot. Like the Indian education system and the education system in US is a lot different. Where in US we are everything is application based, and whereas in India we just buttify stuff and we just go and write. So yeah, working will give you basically like uh, it will improve your perspective, as well as it will actually help you choose the field that you want to go into. So you can choose your major for masters accordingly. So I even if you ask me to go back in time and make this decision again, I would still opt for working for a year or two at least before going for my masters.
The next question is some companies have jam sessions and hackathons too in the recruitment process. So, do you have any tips in that regard?
So hackathons, I have not done any of my rounds. So I am not sure about hackathons, but I'm pretty sure that they might be similar to, they'll give you a problem statement and they'll give you a GitHub link, and they'll ask you to upload your solution there within like 20 hours or 30 hours or so. So there are a lot. I'm just aware of how it's conducted, but not aware of how to prepare for it. So I'm sorry about that. But when it comes to jam, I guess it's nothing but they test your communication there, like how well you're able to communicate, how well you're able to understand the topic. So just make sure that you make sense when you talk rather than just blabbering there. And like even if you speak for less than a minute, it's okay as far as you make sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. And there's another question on the chat. It says, are games that are made as a project of any relevance during, like, for in the interviews in comparison to websites or apps that are actually useful and that solve a problem?
So anything that is 100% original and anything, basically anything that is 100% original and made by you will be given preference, no matter if it's a game, if it's a website, or if it's any app. Like I worked on pretty basic stuff as my projects. Like it was nothing but programming a Arduino Uno and Arduino Mega. So yeah, it's just that make sure that whatever you're doing is original and you know it inside out, so that you like if you're asked any questions about it, you're able to answer it right away, and that should suffice. The domain doesn't really matter.
Okay. With that, we are done with all the questions in the chat. If anyone has any more questions, you can leave it in the chat. And Rida, are there any more questions left?
No, I think we're all done with the questions. And since there are no more questions in the chat, I think we're done with all the questions that we had for Zara.
Okay, so if there's any final tips that you would want to give us uh, before we can close the session today, it would be really helpful.
Just don't panic. Like I guess even if you don't get a job in your first try or second try, it doesn't really matter, because there are a lot of companies and lot of internship, lot of opportunities there. Just don't panic, because I remember myself panicking, and that will be one. And then make sure your concepts are thorough, and make sure that you know you only bring up the topics in the interview that you are confident about, and make sure that you are the one who's driving the interview, and not your interviewer.
That is really great advice. So I think everybody who's with us today will heed mind to this, and I will share the tips that you've mentioned. And if there's anything else, I'm sure if they reach out to me, I can take it to you. But apart from that, thank you so much, Sarah, for taking time out. And I'm so happy that we could have actually conducted the session after so much planning. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Rida. Thanks for having me.
Okay, so I will be.
All the best.
Thank you. Thank you so much. All the best to you as well with whatever plan that you choose from. I'm sure it'll be great. Okay,
Thank
so
you.
bye, guys. Bye, everybody. I will be ending the meeting now. Bye.